I'm uploading on the weekend again, which can only mean one thing. It's another Rimworld Coffee Talk going over the newest Odyssey preview. This time we're covering animals, training and fish. Just like the other two videos, this one is unscripted, so let's dig into the notes and do a bit of theory crafting. The first section is all about my favourite things in Rimworld. Animals. Sarcasm aside, it's cool to see how many new flying additions are coming in with Odyssey, with it specifically mentioning crows, flamingos, herons, macaws and quails. A weird thing that's triggered some PTSD from my days of studying game design, which is quite literally half a lifetime ago at this point, is that each flying animal has 24 frames of animation. So I can't help but wonder if a massive manhunting group of, say, crows is going to be more demanding on your hardware than a group of the same size made entirely out of land-based animals, given that they just use one static appearance based on the direction that they're facing. I only bring it up because in the final project of our third year, our group decided to insert 60 frames of animation into a 2D RPG engine that was originally made to handle 12, and because of that, it regularly crashed on any PC that didn't have an absolute boatload of RAM to spare. We get to see a few other specific animals of note here too, with a porcupine that creates wounds that have quills embedded in them, which are shown to require surgical removal. Fingers crossed that a unit of medicine isn't required for that procedure, otherwise that could get pretty expensive pretty fast. Boghounds seem to be one of the most likely candidates for the previously mentioned unique animals that will only spawn in the Scarlands. These work like pack animals that take revenge against any attacks against them as an entire group. Whilst it's mentioned that they aren't accustomed to human company, it doesn't say that they are impossible to tame, only really difficult. And we finally get some rather ambiguous amphibians, in the form of colossus toads and bullfrogs. These are shown to be some of the creatures that have unique appearances depending on if they're on a watery surface or on land. To go even further with those creatures that have both swimming and walking animations, we have otters, walruses, sea turtles, sea lions and seals. It's such a nice thing to see more biodiversity come into the game, as the waters and skies felt strangely absent in Rimworld. Whilst it could always be hand-waved away with the reason that the planet that you're on isn't Earth, so it doesn't have to share all of the same features, it was sort of clearly more of a technical and design space limitation, with every expansion that's added something seeming to pull down more walls and open up more possibilities for both players and modders to experiment around with. Then we're shown the ancient animals that roam the new glacial plains biome. As you would expect, animals that can survive in a harsh condition are pretty damn capable, with it having already been established in a previous preview that you'll be facing mastodons, scimitar cats and great wolves. Another animal that we'd already seen through other screenshots is the lava snails, and it says that they're often farmed for food, so it looks like escargot is back on the menu. Now I need to make sure that I'm using vanilla expanded cooking mods so I can grow garlic and make butter too. It appears that the swamps will now be inhabited by hippos, yet another animal to make good use of water and land visuals. It's even weirder when it's showcased right next to floating corpses and clothing that now look buoyant enough to almost hover above the surface of the water. Just remember though, if you tame hippos and keep them in a zoo, you're going to make it a huge problem for the rest of the world when your colony inevitably dies at some point and they start to roam free. Next, we can see Rimworld taking some inspiration from RJW by adding crabs into the game, both hermit and stone variants. A nice feature appears to be that their visuals are drawn in such a way that they always walk sideways too. It's little things like this, you know? Now we're given more indication about some of the legendary creatures that will be appearing in the game, with it more clearly established that you'll be following quests to lead you to find these beasties. It's pretty clear that they're not messing around with the Alpha Thrumbo either. They're given a bunch of pledges following them around at all times, having paid a few $100s for an exclusive Discord access. It's definitely going to make for one of the bigger challenges that the game will throw at you without installing mods, as taking down a Thrumbo is already pretty firepower intensive, so a large group of them with an Alpha, yeah, you're going to need a small army for that. It does mention being able to tame this Alpha though, so if you've got an animal handler that you're not overly attached to, what's the harm in trying, right? I'm curious to see if this big lad is going to be immune to psychic effects, as it would be a bit cheap to simply nail him in the head with a shock lance and call it done. Interestingly, with the notes about the animals, we've also got more info on the Hive Queen. Again, another mention that we are able to tame this beast, which we could infer previously from the Hive Queen screenshot, as she was shown to have a name underneath her, which you can only get on colony animals. The other two new insects mentioned are the larvae, which will spit acid, so potentially a core acid mechanic is now being included that other mods can work from, if they choose to do so, rather than the multiple different iterations that we currently have depending on the designer. We also have a flying insect in the form of a locust. I'm very interested to see how a tamed queen is going to utilise her abilities. Is it going to be similar to the War Queen, in that you need to fill her up with a resource, like insect jelly, to make use of those abilities, or are they simply on a cooldown timer with a maximum number of charges stored? Or will it be both? Then we have the new animal training mechanics, the one thing that might make me consider using them over simply turning them into steaks. We see the new abilities mentioned in the form of Comfort, Forage, Dig, Attack, War Trumpet, Terror Roar, and Egg Spew, with Egg Spew being the Insect Queen's ability and Terror Roar, which makes enemies flee, locked to the Alpha Thrumbo. Interestingly, if these are trained abilities, I'm taking that to mean that you won't be able to immediately make the best use of your freshly tamed Mega Beast. There's still quite a bit of work to put in with domesticating them. The War Trumpet ability is for Mastodons and Elephants, with it sounding like it works like Vertigo Pulse from Psycasting, given the description. Predatory animals like wolves, bears, and large cats can finally be designated a specific target in combat, rather than leaving it to the AI to decide what it wants to go and bite, which regularly led to me watching my dogs run out into a hail of gunfire and dying somewhat unceremoniously. Skill issue, you say? Possibly, but that's pretty much the main reason I stopped using animals. It's mentioned that the Mega Sloths and Mega Voles can dig with their claws. I'd seen what looked like a small version of the Mega Wolverine from VE Animals previously in one of the screenshots, so it's good to know what the name of this thing actually is now. This dig action will allow them to slowly assist with mining jobs around the colony. Time will tell if they're also able to help with the quarry mod too. The forage action goes on pigs and raccoons, allowing them to go truffling or digging through the trash for you to try and gather a small amount of food. It's going to be interesting to see if they can reliably find enough to offset their own hunger value. That just leaves the Comfort ability, which is an improved version of something already in the game, in the form of Nuzzling. So this is Nuzzling 2, Electric Boogaloo, which sees a larger mood bonus that can be applied more frequently. If you wanted to be able to train up animals that are normally at the bottom of their class, or are simply too feral to listen to instructions, there are now items called Sentience Catalysts. These will increase the target's intelligence and trainability. So it's time to see how many mods that use creatures in the animals tab end up with very unintended interactions thanks to this. I'm sure they'll be patched out pretty quickly though, so hopefully it's just a toggle to make them immune to this effect. On to fishing, and we've already seen all kinds of different fish in the screenshots leading up to this. It looks like it works near identically to what we know from VE fishing. Different catches are going to be based on if you're fishing in freshwater or saltwater, as well as what kind of biome you're in. So you might find piranhas in the tropics, but you're unlikely to find them hanging about in a frozen tundra. Fishing treasures are also included, so expect to be able to find long lost drug stashes, sunken limbs, or many other surprises. The fishing stat, which is likely to be determined by animals, as I can't imagine it's a new unique skill in and of itself, helps colonists catch more fish with each attempt and also fish faster in general. However, overfishing has been taken into consideration, so if your only source of food is the local lake and you have your entire colony casting a line into it, you could end up going very hungry pretty fast, which is a nice balancing addition to the system. Gill rot is also something new, which seems to function as a water-based blight mechanic to try and keep you on your toes and force you to consider another food source at times. We also get confirmation in this section too that animals will be able to fish, with you being able to potentially rob penguins, otters or bears of their latest catch. Just make sure that the bear doesn't decide to eat your colonist, as they're now the closest and tastiest food source. As well as fishing, we finally get swimming. Another nice easy source of recreation if you have some water present on your tile, with swimming itself having a unique animation that actually sees your colonist partially submerged. And that's about it for now. It's a pretty straightforward update with confirmation that we will be getting one more before the release of Odyssey, detailing the new quests, the Mech Hive endgame and other random bits that clearly didn't fit anywhere else. So fingers crossed we get a more detailed look at the new unique weapon mechanics. I put a post up on my Patreon yesterday about what coverage will look like going forwards with the release of Odyssey. I'll make sure to get a video out for the next preview too, even if it happens to land on the same day that Odyssey itself launches. I honestly wasn't expecting a 4th preview given the time frame that we were looking at for release now, but it makes sense as we had 4 previews for the last couple of expansions too. We're just cutting it close to the wire is all. Anyway folks, have a good weekend. You can look forward to coverage of Apparel and Armour Expanded to land before the expansion release. Then I'm going to go dark for a while to get all the footage of the new DLC and put that rundown together. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon or evening. Take care.